Hi, my name is Victoria Stevens, and today I will be talking about why I feel like homework is not a necessity, and also why it causes stress and a student to be dissociative, and all of the other things that come with the stress of being a student and student life and homework. Why homework should not be a necessity among young adults and students. So, let's dive in. For a boatload of reasons, homework causes so much stress. Homework causes so much depression and problems and just household issues in itself. So I want to dig deep into that, and I want to talk about all of the problems that can arise with homework and why it's not necessary, and the alternatives that we could take to get our students to retain the knowledge that they're learning within school and everything like that. I feel like this topic is very important because a lot of parents are trying to figure out what is going on with their children, and they're just not understanding what's going on. These children are coming back from school and they just seem like they're being drawn away, or that they're stressed out or something like that. And also teachers, they can be wondering, what is wrong with my students? They're coming into class every day and they're acting like they hate my guts. So I just want to talk about this and the alternatives that we can use in place of homework, and why I feel like it's not a necessity. It's not necessary. So first off, I want to start off and I want to talk about what homework is. I want to talk about the purpose of homework and all of the findings that I've, came to when I was looking up the topic of, the stress level of homework and the effectiveness of homework itself. Homework is schoolwork that is taken back home. Okay. So the schoolwork that is taken back home, it's so the young adult or the person, whoever we're talking about, can have that repetition in their brain and have the retention of the knowledge that they learned previously, so they can bring it back to school and it's not something that they'll lose. But I just want to bring it back to the fact that it's schoolwork. So why are we mixing the two together? Shouldn't schoolwork stay at school and homework should stay at home? That's what I believe. So let's get into it. A student will spend from an hour to 8 hours in probably one classroom, or if you're getting to higher levels in school, you might swap between classes. So roughly you can spend 30 minutes, an hour, 8 hours. All of that is spent time at school. And with this time spent at school, you should be learning things. You should be doing things where you'd be able to retain what you're learning, and that you'd be understanding of what you learn, and it's not something that should be taken back home. Within these 8 hours, the student is working on things. They're jotting down notes. They're doing probably practice quizzes and all of these things in preparation for a test or something bigger that is to come, ahead of time. So with all of this being said, I still don't believe that homework should be a thing, because as I have just discussed, a student is spending an hour to 8 hours in a classroom. Don't you feel like in that time frame that they should be doing something to where that knowledge should be retained? That's that's something to think about. Okay, now let's get into the reason as to why I feel like homework is not a necessity. On multiple websites, I have seen that homework can cause problems within the household. One being that not all parents have finished school, and not all parents have a secondary learning. So it can cause a problem within the household, and it can cause the children to get stressed, because whenever they go to ask their parents for help, the parent doesn't necessarily know how to help them. So it puts the stress on the child, because then the child has to go back to school, and when the teacher asks, why isn't the work done? The child has to explain, well, I couldn't get any help from home because why? At home, my parents don't necessarily know how to help me. So we can start to see how, that will cause some problems with everything. And also, I have seen that it causes students to be depressed It causes them to be stressed, and it also causes them to be drawn away and to dissociate their personal life and just not have a life at all, because this overload of work is bringing them down. And all their thoughts are consumed of is homework. Homework. Because they feel like, well, I spent all of this time in class. Shouldn't I have learned something or have been doing something to where I wouldn't have to bring this home with me? So all of these problems are just building on top of each other, and it's causing the student or the child to be drawn away because they don't have the help from at home. And also, they don't have the energy to get the help. They don't have the energy to want to complete the task of doing homework and everything like that. And also, homework is hard. The curriculums are steady changing for the new age students and everything like that. So parents, they don't know how to help them because the way that they learn things and the way that the children are learning things now are two completely different things. So you see how the problem could arise within, that whole ordeal. And I also want to talk about the alternatives that we can use in the place of homework, because as I said before, homework is not necessary. If a child is going to school 5 days a week and spending multiple hours in this place, they should be doing things within those hours and within those days to where this knowledge should be retained. So maybe the teachers might have to take 1 day to teach, 1 day to do the post learning of what they taught the day before, So in that place, we wouldn't have to be taking this all to our house, because school should be school, home should be home. They spend all these hours at school with their friends and their peers and their teachers and everything like that. So whenever they get home, it should be their wind down time. It should be time to rest. It should be time to eat, go play outside with your other friends, and take a bath and lay down. So maybe these teachers might have to take 1 day to teach and 1 day just to, do that post learning. Also, another alternative is make them do practice tests, make them do practice quizzes in class, because practice does make perfection, but the practice does not always have to be something you have to do at your house. It can be something that is done within the place that you are learning, where they have the people who are capable of helping you at. These teachers are being paid to be taught. These teachers have that secondary education to where they went further and they learned how to aid these students in a certain way. So I feel like if you do pop-ups and practices and all of this, since the teacher is there, they'd be more help than going home and having to do this homework. It makes sense. That's why I believe homework is not a necessity, because of all the problems that it causes and all the stress that arises within it. It should not be a necessity. It shouldn't. And I feel like more people should understand that, and more people should know about these things, because all it takes is a Google research and you will see how much stress and problems it causes. Homework is not a necessity, and it's not necessary due to the problems of stress, depression, and dissociation that it comes with.